Hi guys, I'm Philip J. Watt and this is the Conscious Society YouTube channel. Now it's been a little while since I've had a video, and today I'm really looking forward to sharing a pretty relevant conversation with you guys around what's happening in the alternative media and how the New Age movement has been hijacked to being more passive than what it should be. There's a few key terms and concepts that are thrown around, which is used to, I guess, inhibit the action of that movement, and we'll get into that in a little bit. This channel, I usually try and provide a truthful narrative, or a more truthful set of narratives regarding what's happening in the world out there. Last month I spoke to Greg Carlwood of the High Side Chats, and that was going right down into the conspiracy rabbit holes. But today what we're going to do is just have a little bit more, let's work back onto the surface a little bit and discuss how some of the problems in our world aren't being responded to via the alternative media, the New Age movement, and how the alternative mindsets and heart sets have been fragmented and have been sort of, I guess, they're not working together to institute the change we need on both local and worldly scales. So my guest today is Tim Ray. He's the CEO of the United Intentions Foundation. His website is unitedintentions.org. I appeared on his, he invited me on his radio show several months ago, and I thought I'd get him to come back onto my program and to discuss what I just mentioned before. So welcome to the Conscious Society YouTube channel, Tim.
Well, great. I'm so glad now to be finally part of a society that's not secret. So that's really good.
Yes, well, we've all got our own secrets, I guess, don't we? But we the way that we contribute to the world at large really should be there for others to sort of understand where we're at, what's going on in the world.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want this discussion today to be about. So how are we contributing to what's going on? And I guess, in what ways have we been sort of tricked not to contribute as we should? So before we get into it, how about we start with a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing?
Sure. My name is Tim Ray, and I'm the, like you said, CEO founder of United Intentions Foundation. But my background really has been senior care business. I've been doing that for about 25 years. And however, even saying that, as you said, the New Age movement, let's say, or metaphysical movement, I've been involved in that probably even prior to that, maybe in 30-something years, or maybe 25, 30 years. And it's amazing how it led me to where I am today. You know, I really don't believe in coincidences. I do believe in things that occur, you know, for whatever reasons. And I got to the point where I had my success in business, had my success, you know, climbing the corporate ladder to whatever degree. And there's so much going on in the world that I was becoming very fear-based, very kind of lower frequency thinking, believing, you know, you turn on the news, it is just, you know, if there's a scale, you can measure your like a love scale to a fear scale, and, you know, you turn on the news and you drop immediately to the lower bottom depths of fear. And to the point where you're hearing all these things going on, and the things that are affecting your lives, affecting your pocketbook, affecting your kids, you know, what futures and opportunities they have. And as you know, this globalist movement going on. And I got to the point where, you know, I felt powerless. And I've had this pretty, what society would consider successful life in our three-dimensional world to a certain degree. But on an individual level, I wasn't feeling successful because I was so overwhelmed by these worrisome thoughts that really got to the point where, my God, it could really turn somebody into being paranoid to a degree where, wow, you know. And then even with all my metaphysical and New Age belief system, although it helped out drastically, and I think once you come to a point in your life, you realize there's no death, and you really believe it, not just intellectually believe it, but on an emotional level, that definitely is a part of you that you do not lose, and that really helps you feel and deal with these issues, and especially these negative, fearful beliefs that are being programmed to us on a daily basis. So I got tired of it and I couldn't do it anymore. And I said, well, I do believe in creating my own reality, that my thoughts create my own reality. And I do look at the quantum physics aspect of all that, the science, as well as the meta science. And I'm like, well, I need to practice what I preach. This is really for me. So I started the foundation out of a necessity for me to realize that I have the power within myself. And then I said, well, why not share this with others? And the foundation basically is a virtual community where people have an opportunity to come interact and learn how to create, track, and manifest intentions using the law of attraction, using a lot of these different principles and that we are been talking about for many years now, like The Secret and things like that you're hearing out in the New Age metaphysical world. That makes sense to, in a logical place. And I'm a very logical, probably scientific minded person to begin with. So when I say things like that, I usually have research to mean, okay, this makes sense to me. And allowed us to build a forum where not only are we created a site where people come interact with each other, friend, like, make where two more thoughts come together, two more people come together in similar thought or prayer. You're using the intensity field, as Einstein talked about, to attract certain frequencies towards you, right? Not only do you have the opportunity to do that, but we also have other programs for the foundation we call the UI education and the UI business, where our belief system with the UI education is we need to reach first grade up to 12th grade, and we're even looking now in college periods or areas, that if you learned that your thoughts create your reality at that young age, rather than midway through life realizing what's going on and what I need to do and having that revelation, where could you be today? So we're looking at getting that into the school systems, public and private, to teach kids simple thought, that your thoughts create your reality, that turning worrisome thoughts, fearful, low frequency thoughts, into positive intentions, and learning to be conscious of that in the present moment to attract that in your life consciously. Now, same thing with the United Intentions, the UI business we call. We're looking to go into businesses where we actually learn to, businesses that choose to and want to develop their philosophy, their intentions around these universal principles or these universal laws, as they say, law of one, the law of attraction, law of compensation, law of action, whatever it may be. And some are scientifically valid and some are in the process of, and some are not yet, but it doesn't really matter at this point. It's a big experiment to begin with. And so we're moving forward in that direction of actually aligning companies' intentions with the employee's personal self-intentions, where it's more of a symbiotic relationship in a business, more so than the control over others. You need to do this, and money drives you, and it's more of a cooperation between each other. And we see that as being the future. As I know a lot on your program, you talk about. I was reading one of the articles, which I thought was brilliant. It was 5 people changing the world. And it's really you're focusing in on the non-commercialized people out there who are really they don't have a superficial presentation of what they say, and then they do just the opposite. They give you this storyline, and then they do literally the opposite of what they're trying to do, just to make you feel good about what they're saying. And hence, which brings us to the topic of the day is, why does that happen? So a lot of people focus on the superficial aspects of it, and they don't ever dare to go deeper into it to find out that what's really going on, that may just be the opposite agenda than their original intentions they're portraying to the public. So, but that's basically what we do at the foundation, and it's exciting. And it's we also do a radio show. We have ebooks. I mean, we have a blogosphere. We have chat room. We have movie nights. You go to movies. You can watch movies together collectively and chat about it. We run movies different times, and there's it's like a giant community of action and of interaction. Of people with like-minded thoughts, such as yourself, have a chance to interact with real authentic people who are living an authentic life, or what we call it an intentional life.
Great. Sounds amazing. I especially like the part of getting the children to think about how they play a co-creating role in reality right from an early age, because you're building that neurology through the cerebral, heart and tummy brains to be able to emit and attract the right frequencies from an early age or an earlier age. And I actually spoke about this at the Paradigm Shift Summit on the Gold Coast on the weekend. One of the key points I made in my presentation is how the law of attraction, or the secret, has been sold to us in a bullshit package. Now, and I think the words I used was, isn't that a crock of shit? Because we are an electromagnetic being in an electromagnetic universe, and we are involved in a dance with the external world around us, but we're not fully creating reality on two levels. On one level, we've got an energetic blueprint, or a soul blueprint, or something that is our fundamental energy that, you know, sort of manifested into us, into this particular lifetime, into this particular time, with these particular sort of parameters and like the body and the genes and whatnot. And then that is the framework that we can work in. Now, a lot of people are angry and feel misled by the secret, because they don't talk about the fact that not everybody can win the lotto. Not everybody can manifest what we want. We can only align what we create with what our fundamental blueprint will allow. Well, that's what it's designed to do, which is why we've got certain experiences and why there is a destiny. We do have a destiny. I like to look at it as simply just the evolutionary path of the soul, or of our energy, or whatever what I might call what I'm fundamentally made of. But we still have free will. We can still create within that destined sort of pathway. And that's not to say that the future is determined. What I mean by that is our destiny is just a natural path of growth. We can choose to live our destiny, or we can choose not to, as efficiently and non-efficiently as we want. So if we want to steer off with our free choice, with our fate, it'll bring us back, and then we'll choose to either go along sort of the right path or choose the wrong paths. So, but we can't all win the lotto. We can't manifest things that isn't going to be aligned with where we're going on that fundamental level, which is why the idea around the law of attraction is to become more conscious of what we are fundamentally attracting, not just through the subconscious mind, but through our energy as well, and maximizing the I was going to say profit, but I meant like the richness, the wealth that we can get out of our experience. And this is a great segue, really, to lead into that discussion that we both mentioned at the start, which is why the New Age movement has been selling us stuff that is not just not clear and difficult to understand and not really aligned to who we are, but also why is it making us so inactive? Why are we so passive to standing up and being counted in what's really going on in the outside world?
Well, there's a couple of philosophies on that. And, you know, and as I grow and learn, I couldn't just tell you that direct answer that this is the truth. I could give you my perspective and truth on it, but I think it's a much deeper rabbit hole than a lot of people, because on one end you have our reality creates our thoughts create our reality. And yes, you talked about the subconscious mind, and the big thing about the secret was the secret they left out was not only there's the contract that we made with ourselves in a past life that we're going to have this type of experience, and we created whatever parameters they are. And yes, free will can take us out of those parameters, but we may not get the full juice of an enjoyment of why when you're in the flow of those parameters. But also the subconscious mind dealing with those aspects of the obstacles that hold you back. I think the secret left that part out too as well. Not really addressing those pieces of it and the programming that we go through at a very young age. So I think it's a mixture of a blueprint, a mixture of the subconscious mind, a mixture of the state of being that you can create in your body and outside your body, because thoughts are all, thoughts affect inside our bodies. We know, scientifically proven, and now we know, people like Dr. Bruce Lipton will tell you that our thoughts affect people outside of ourselves. So to answer that question, though, in reference to the vision of these of the metaphysical, why they set up that way, I could give you a couple of my opinions, and I think a lot of it. I think there are very valid New Age energies out there that are going on that have not get caught up into our, let's say, have not been co-opted by some of the New World Order agenda of, it's not just that people think it's a New World government. It's not just a New World government. It's a New World army. It's a New World religion. It's a New World constitution. And so there's many different aspects, layers of that, and they're approaching from many layers. And this is one perspective you could have, and I'm going to share this with you. And then I'm going to give you another kind of challenging perspective that I'd love to get your feedback on too, which I'm wrestling with at this as I share this and in my life, because it's almost a contradiction in itself, and it's the paradox of life, of when you realize you create everything, or is the outside world really outside of us? Are we just manifesting all this ourselves, and we're attracting people on similar frequencies like we are? But back to what I was saying with the New World Order, or let's say the New World religion. This has been in play for many years. I mean, decades and decades. In the early turn of the century, the Fabian Society, and they really were trying to get this one world religion, and a lot of them, like Henry Kissinger and a whole gang of them, a lot of them got involved with co-opting, and I'm not just saying creating metaphysics or creating new age, but co-opting a lot of it, and just steering in a direction where good people who truly believe that love is the common denominator between all religions. We have right now the Pope, who's talking about the one world religion. He's had a big video on it. It's a big talk right now, where he has people from Hindus, he has Buddhists, he has Jews, he has Christians, you have everybody coming together and saying, hey, I believe in my religion, but the common denominator is love. And on a superficial level, or at least on the surface, you can't argue with that. In fact, I can't argue with having a global New World Order. Let's say not a New World Order, because that's such a negative connotation these days. Let's say a worldwide united people sharing and caring and loving each other, and taking nature into account, and taking all this into account. On the surface level, this is a great idea. But the issue that most people are not really finding out or getting involved in, or not digging deeper enough, because we live in a world these days that just didn't happen overnight. This has been in make for decades, almost a century too, that real now have been propagandized to the point where the media has been, not only in the States, but also where you are too, and all over the world to a certain degree, have been compromised and tainted. And I don't want to go too in depth into conspiracies, like you said, but I want to, on a superficial level, that you can't say certain things. And these New Agers who truly believe love is the common denominator, they could say that, but what happens is these other energies, or these other people who are co-opting New Age belief systems, they use it for their advantage, usually the opposite. So that you'll say, hey, this one minister, his name is, let's see if I have it here. He started the URI, which is this one world religion part of it, where we all have this in common, and it's called Interfaith Cooperation. And I'll get his name here in a second, but he's talking about how he wants a UN to create this agenda for this one world religion, where we all have the common denominators, and you have this great opportunity to interact with other religions all over the world, and where they would specifically teach love and interfaith, and you share your faith. But there's one line in one of their preamble, one of their actual missions, which really catches my eye, and if I can find it here, I'll tell you. But basically it says, we will follow the law. I think here it is. We will follow the law. We unite to support freedom of religion and spiritual expression and the rights of individuals and peoples. And this is the catch, as set forth in international law. So now you're looking at an international law determining what this one world religion will mean to people. And now when you mess with people's beliefs, I mean, there's no reason why you can't be a Jew, I can't be a Hindu, and we could be best friends and still have totally different religious beliefs. As long as we honor each other, that it's love, right? And there's no reason that can't happen. But yet when now you have this international law that's going to determine whether through and being enforced by the UN Army, and the UN, and also now the the World Constitution, which is not going to be the same as the Constitution in each of the different countries, in Australia, or definitely not in the United States. It'll be a watered down version that will, that's being put together by these globalists, these corporations that really want power over the others. So when you get past that superficial, hey, sounds great, this is love, the Pope's talking about it, and you realize the players involved in this who have been setting this up for decades don't have the same intentions, and their agenda is not about love. In fact, their agenda is about power over others. It's about control. And how do you know that? I don't even have to know what people. I don't listen to what people say anymore. I just look at what they're doing. And to me, circumstantial evidence is fine. I don't have to see somebody say something to do something. But when you have hundreds of thousands of Christians being murdered, raped in Syria, right, or wherever it may be, in the name of this new world order of moving everybody forward and no national borders, and having all this chaos and murder and violence for this so-called higher purpose, that alone, you lost me, because it doesn't need, this global world doesn't need to unite, doesn't need to have violence. It can be done in a very persuasive, logical, loving fashion. But that tells you that this agenda is not true to what's being said. And even though I read this mission of this gentleman who's out of California for this one world religion, sounds great, and he probably totally believes everything on there, and he's probably totally committed to it. But when you realize these power structures and these positions who are either manipulating him or he's part of it, and you're going to organize all these metaphysical fragmented places where just focus on love, and that's great. And now their agenda is where people are dying and being murdered, and whether it's people being sent to different parts of the different countries, and you realize that these agendas are much more violent than perhaps the purpose of what they're saying. It gives pause, and you have to realize, what? Okay, I can't follow this, because I don't think you need to have a one world religion. You could have love, but you don't need to make it a religion. You could just have that as a common denominator and leave it at that, and let everyone have their own individual belief systems. That's one perspective. Now, the other perspective is, I don't know if you listen to any of Benito Macerio or some of the different perspectives on how we create our own reality, that as I'm talking to you right now on a quantum level, I'm manifesting this chair you're sitting in and all the trees behind you, and this is merely me talking to myself, but just at a different perspective. And you're doing the same co-creating with me as well. And so this hall of mirrors, because everything's coming from within and manifesting on every nanosecond, that it's really, there's no outside. This outside is really expression of me from my higher self. And now to look at that from that perspective, instead of this outside separated perspective, it gives me, I wouldn't say confusion, but it gives me that paradox of, I don't know which direction may be the most accurate, that I'm manifesting, creating this new world vision, this new world order. Am I getting lost into the anger of it all? Or am I seeing it for what it is and taking inspirational action to make the difference? Or do I sit back and just change my belief system on my intentions to shift and focus on what I want to experience more so than what I'm experiencing right now or believe I'm experiencing right now? So to me, it's a dichotomy that once you get to that point where you're like, okay, there's two perspectives I can look at this. Which is the best one? Which is the healthiest one? Which is the one that's going to make me happier? Which is the one that I'm going into? I don't want to deny the reality of these psychopathic, satanic pedophiles that are running the world right now, nor do I want to stay in the trenches of building a bunker and living in fear the whole time either, So and if I'm creating all this, then am I the one who is manifesting this? So if you see my paradox, I hope I didn't go too far off the deep end on that, but that's kind of where I am at this point in the whole agenda and the whole process.
Well, you've raised a good point, and it's part, again, of what I think is the New Age psyopery, because what you've described there is solipsism. The latter view is that only you exist in your reflection, your higher self. That's called solipsism, and that what I would consider is a failed philosophy, because my experience has been explicit and very clear that that there is other intelligent life out there. I believe you're really real. I believe that we're co-creating this reality, not you creating it, or not me creating it.
Right.
And if we aren't focusing on what the other layers of truth, or what I call it is the many truths theory, that there are many truths. There isn't just one truth, that we are all one thing. There are many truths. We are in a duality: light, dark, love, hate, love, fear, positive, negative, up, down, etc., etc. That is one layer of truth. Now, it's probably less real or less fundamental than what we are all fundamentally connected at the source is saying. But then that doesn't mean it's not real. It means that it's just less connected. It's less a reflection of what we truly are at our core. And that's, once again, some of the issues in the New Age movement, where people just say, oh, it's all just meant to be. It'll work itself out.
Yeah.
When it doesn't do, that's not how it works. If we're hungry, we need to make the decision to eat. It doesn't just work itself out. We need to do an assessment, go, I'm hungry, and I want to eat A, B, and C, and then reach the conclusion of how we're going to do it, and then do it. We form a judgment through the process of our experience as to what we need to change, including with ourselves. That's another part of it. So, of course, I want to evolve myself. I want to judge what I need to strengthen, what I need to do, how I want to evolve. That's really, really important, especially because I was programmed from an early age in this very toxic system. So I need to judge within me what is wrong, or what is not working, what is dysfunctional, what is inappropriate for my own evolution. And I also need to do that on the outside world. I need to form a judgment. Some people say it's discernment or observation or whatever. Again, it's just all fluff. We form judgments. Discernment is just literally a wise judgment. So why don't we just call it what it is? It's a judgment. We're either making healthy or unhealthy judgments. We're either making wise or unwise judgments. We're either making imbalanced or balanced judgments. But that's what we're doing. We need to do it around what's going internally, what's happening on how we relate to the world, and what's going on in the outside world, so we can contribute to, what the evolution that we need to go through to become a truly civilized society. I mean, what would Martin Luther King and Gandhi and all these activists say if you said, oh, no, don't worry, it's all meant to be, it'll work itself out? They'd be bloody mortified, because things would not change if we didn't contribute to the world around us. So, but you talked about that dichotomy, and I think there isn't necessarily, there is a middle ground in a sense.
I agree with you too on that, by the way.
Yeah, because
there's a middle ground.
We don't, just because we look out the outside world, and let's be honest with it, these New World Orderists, these globalists, these elite, whatever we want to call them, they do exist. They're involved in the dark occult. They've got their rituals, and how we know that definitively is because they control all of our societal mechanisms. They do the banking, they do the media, they do the education, they do the pharmaceuticals / medicine / food. They do the whole goddamn lot. They're creating all the laws, and look what all of that is doing. It's causing ill health, it's causing death, it's causing suffering, it's causing ignorance, it's causing apathy, it's causing the disconnection of the human spirit and the human mind with itself, with each other, and with the world at large. And so I don't care what bullshit, fluff, superficial crap they put on their, Agenda 21 and 2030s and New World Order currencies and religions and one world, all the rest of it. They have proven themselves conclusively through their actions that they don't give a fuck about you or me or anybody else but their own elite centralized power structure and to become bloody immortal gods in their own fucking minds. So no, it's not appropriate that we support these agendas. They've proven who they are. We need to form judgments around what's not good out in the world. Doesn't mean that we feed it. We don't feed that fear, but we live in a duality. It is a truth. We are connected, but we are also separate. We are minds of consciousness, not mind of consciousness. We have the power to transform ourselves and transform and transmute what I call neo-shamanism. It's not my word, but it's I guess my unique perspective on what neo-shamanism is, which is dealing with all of these energies and terms and concepts and ideas and transforming them or facilitating a healing process within ourselves and how that relates to the world at large. So I think we need to get bloody busy. We need to get a little bit angry. We're an emotional being. We should be using our emotional spectrum for the good, for the benefit. That doesn't mean we sit in anger. It means that we use that anger and we transform it, we shamanize it into action and change and bloody having a crack at what's going on in the world out there. So no, I don't look at the outside world as a complete illusion. I don't look at my reality here in the 3D as a complete illusion. It's certainly more illusory than my fundamental energetic connection to the source, but it's still a layer of reality. It's still a layer of truth. And this is what pisses me off about these new age gurus, these people out there selling love and peace and all the bullshit when they're not identifying how seriously dysfunctional and the amount of damage and suffering what's happening out in the world out there today. We need to call this bullshit out. This is a control matrix. If you want to be a true leader of the people, like the people that I have at my channel, who I consider are the true leaders of our world, because they're identifying these issues, they're calling them out, and they're saying that is not good enough. They're forming the judgment that we need to change the way that we operate, both individually and collectively. And if you do that, then you're in alignment with your honor and your integrity and with the way that reality actually fucking works. So sorry about that rant, Tim. I need to go.
No, it's great. In fact, I have a couple of questions for you because I'm there. I feel that anger, and to me, I feel powerless sometimes because unless we're talking about, I don't think a Martin Luther King or a Gandhi at this point would be that approach would be effective with how far the NWO has gone and how the shifting. I feel like we're going to have to go through it rather than we're going to be able to stop anything. But at the same time, and I want to just throw another perspective at you that I was talking about earlier and just get your feedback on it, because I know you believe that 99.9% of our molecules are empty space, or at least invisible energy data. I mean, godlike, as Einstein called it. So as you and I are looking at each other, even on this Skype/Zoom combo that we did, that you don't, my five senses are perceiving you and you perceiving me in this table. It's not really what it looks like in, say, the reality of this matrix we live in. Because if it was more so, if we took away our five senses and saw what we were, we would be mainly empty space or energy. We would be more like in the Matrix, like Neo, when he fairly stops the bullets, when it goes green, and you see the energy flowing or auras around us. I mean, I believe that would be more of an actual description of what we really look like in this three-dimensional world than perhaps what we're looking like right now as we're talking to each other. So in that sense, I do believe it is an illusion. Now, that my question to you is, do you believe in a higher self, or you made a contract in a past life that you're going to have this experience with this blueprint, and you need to find that and unfold that? If you do believe that, could you not be creating, and you and I creating together, co-creating, which I agree wholeheartedly with you, this new world order, this power structure that's infiltrated everywhere, to the point where it's collapsing everything, because forcing us and billions of others that we cannot control it. We could try to fight against it, or as this Taoist we had on a little while ago, he says, you can't be a rock against a rock. You got to be a water on the rock and go around it, underneath it, whatever, and make change in that format. But could we not be creating this environment for us to be forced to go within ourselves, to waken up to our own power, to change this through our thoughts and our power of belief in and change our reality? If we focus on, if we realize that full connection of that power. Now, could that be some of that metaphysical BS that you're talking about that's being sold out there? Or could that potentially be a reality that as this bubble's collapsing, we're forcing ourselves, because trust me, the anger, I feel you, brother, with the anger and the issues, because I look at my children and I say, my God, what future are you going to have right now? And we don't want suffering. I don't know if you listen to any Teal Swan at all, or listen to what she had to say in reference to, we're here to live a life of contrast, not a life of suffering. Suffering is more of a choice. And I love to get your philosophy on what I just said too, just from the feedback of the higher self. Could it possibly you creating this higher self yourself, co-creating with me and billions of others?
So, yes. For starters, I believe it's all an illusion compared to what reality actually is. We're relative. We're not the infinite. We're a finite snapshot of infinite consciousness. So therefore, it's all illusory in reference to what it means to be infinite, unbound awareness. And so we are self-awareness in the construct of awareness, and that self-awareness is illusory compared to awareness in and of itself. But that doesn't mean the self-awareness or the way that we perceive and the way that we experience isn't real. It's still a layer of reality.
Or not take action, and you can still be your higher self could still, like I agree with you, your higher self could still be creating everything, but taking action is an expression of yourself with yourself or other co-creators. That taking action is not being in that fear mode, but in the love mode of making changes on that. And I think I do agree with you wholeheartedly that the New Age movement has been stifled or has been divided and conquered to a certain degree, fragmented, as you said earlier. So you don't take action because, just look at this. I was raised Catholic, but I wouldn't say I'm a practicing Christian, but I love that religion as I do many other religions. But I think a lot of the Christians don't take action because they're leaving it up to Jesus, or they're leaving it up to somebody else to take the next step or to take action. I think action is so critical in life. You could sit in your house all day long and just wait for things to happen. But if you're not out there and sharing your authentic self, my blueprint could be different than yours, and of course they are, but their blueprint may have nothing to do with the New World Order, or may have nothing to do with, they're here. I had an astrologist on the show today, Lorelei Robbins, and she was talking about Tauruses, and my son's a Taurus, and I was just thinking as she was talking, she said Tauruses are, they're grounded. They want people to come. They want to have things set in place. They want their food. They want things placed, but they're here more so to experience love and emotions and to have this. My son he's a very tender son, and he just loves people. And I can see that he wouldn't get caught up into what I'm caught up into or believe in that sense, because it's not part of his blueprint, as you said earlier, which I think is a great way of couching it. But
if that comes to him, then if we do go through a bit of social upheaval or whatnot, that it will come to him. It'll come to all of us.
It will, yeah.
But to answer your question, yes, this is a part of our shadow self. If you have a look at the outside world and what's going on, people are enslaved physically, materially, financially, emotionally, and just philosophically, psychologically, the way that their beliefs have been designed. Most people are just robotic responses to the control matrix. Let's just be straightforward about it. They might have some level of connection to themselves, but in majority, most beliefs, most thinking is a purposely designed structure to keep them enslaved into the system. Now, that's not just on a 3D physical level either. It's also into the energetic and spiritual realms as well. Some might say, and even into the multidimensional realm. So this rabbit hole goes very deep in terms of our enslavement, including with you look at other sorts of otherworldly intelligences and whatnot, the the UFO agenda, the alien agenda. There is a whole gamut of information around our enslavement on that level as well.
Oh, and look at the past life scenario too. There's supposedly other, say, entities that remember between their lives. But here, like you said, in Prison Planet, let's call it whatever we want to call it, we're not meant to remember our past lives, so we never really grow from one life to the next. I guess some people do or recur back, but if we were able to remember our past lives, if that is even true, some people don't believe that, whether they believe it or not, but if it's true, where would we be today? My God, if you remembered all your past lives, you think you'd be much further evolutionary wise than you would be now. But is there a purpose? Is the purpose done? We're DNA messed with, so we don't remember our past lives. Is there these entities causing this so we don't for the experiment at all, or is we're choosing, allowing us not to remember these past lives so we can grow from contrast, learn to grow from contrast, and not learn to grow from suffering? I mean, it's like there's these two different perspectives. I could get lost into making all this change in the world, and to me, action is so. What you're doing to me, you're one of my mentors, and I love following you not only on your blog and your writing, but also on your videos, because we need more of this. We need people taking action. Does it need to be a rock against a rock action, or can it be more of an awareness action? And now let's focus on solutions. Like you wrote that article on 5 people making a difference. They're creating it. Now, I love that because I'm putting the intentions out there when this new world order collapses, whatever it collapses, that there's going to be sets of people such as yourself, myself, all these millions of other people around there who know what's going on, who then at that point, as this other agenda tries to be put into place, we're going to co-opt it back and then put this higher global pulling people together around the world into place that's based on love, real love, not the surface level love where there's a hidden agenda underneath it, but a true essence of love that we're embraced in and realize that. And I think the more people wake up to this, I think they need to know about this new world religion and the Kissingers and the Rothschilds and all these other folks out there, because those folks are co-creating as well as we are. And they may be more disconnected from our source than we are, or vice versa, whatever the case may be, but they're co-creating, and perhaps they're going to wake up at some point and reconnect. Maybe they're going to let go of whatever satanic forces has control over them to realize, you know what, I have all this power in the world. Perhaps now they could be like Scrooge, what have I done? Maybe I need to. And maybe we put those intentions out there, we can wake it up. So you got to deal with reality, what it is. We have to see for what it is. We can't deny it, assume it's not. But you could go and say, I'm not supporting Agenda 21. I'm going to be calling the police, non-emergency police line every time I see a chemtrail out in the sky. I'm going to organize a group of people who are going to come together, and we're going to call, and because it's not so much you call the FAA, they have their talking points, but you raise your attention, your local police, to where, hey, you know what, we're being poisoned right now. We're in a vaccination worldwide. What if they decide to change these chemtrails from these little aluminum things that they're manipulating geo-weather to mass, Jim Jones experience? I mean, there's no control. There's no legislation over it. Any of this stuff could happen. But my point is, we need to be that active, but I think it's an awareness and realize that there's no death. I mean, I'm sure you believe that there's no death in the sense of a permanency. And once you hold on to that reality that, you know what, I'm here, I can have fun with this, I can raise awareness with it, I can be serious, I can make fun, have fun at the same time, and I can engage in this, and I can be part of this, I don't know, we coin another word for it, but this new world co-opting of the new world order, because I do think moving in that direction of a globalization is a great idea, but the power brokers that are in charge running and organizing it, they need to fade away or they need to awaken to their source, one or the other.
Look, I would love to see that happen. They fucking well should. But at the end of the day, I'm not for a global centralized order in any shape or form. I'm for global agreements. I think we might be able to come to some sort of agreement around, I don't know, the golden rule, do no harm, allow freedom and health and each individual to prosper. I think that the system should be designed that way. I think money is inevitably an enslavement tool, and we could remove that completely and build abundance on our planet.
I think a one world citizen. You had a guest on there, Ken O'Keefe. I thought he had a great idea with a one world citizenship.
Well, but let me cut you off now, because there's been some updated revelations around Ken O'Keefe, and that's a shit fight clusterfuck at the moment. So I'm not even going to bother going into that.
But I mean, having a concept where there's people can agree on a process where we're like Star Trek, for example. Monetary system in this made up world of Star Trek went away after so many thousands of years or hundreds of years, whatever. And people did things because they felt it was a motivation for them. Money wasn't the driving force, and people did things that they wanted to do, and that was part of the social system to grow into. And say you're right. Say there are these other entities or another. To me, this depopulation program is so silly. It's another power broker situation, because humankind, womankind, should be exploring the stars right now. We should be exploring and sharing love. We don't need to be locked up in one little planet here. And it is, and these power brokers who are involved in this, who knows how far advanced they got with that aspect of it, because once you use technology to advance one set of people to another people, that's when the manipulation and the power over others really gets seductive. And even in my life, you could see that. I could see where, wow, I really got to put myself in check at times, because if we're a mirror of everyone else and everyone else a mirror of me, so if I don't like for example, if you don't like and I don't like what's going on in the New World Order, there's a part of us that's not comfortable with where we are in ourselves. Now, if you may not believe that, I believe that aspect of that perhaps New Age piece of it. But if that is the case, then, once we neutralize that energy within ourselves, do we not feel the drive for that on the outside? But how do you do that? Still take action and make change, because I don't want to see people suffer. I don't want to see my kids suffer. I don't want to see myself suffer. I don't want to see anyone else suffer. How do we make that change? And that's where a lot of dilemma I come in, Phil, is that's where I am. There's this dichotomy going on, and I don't have an answer for you or your guests. I could just only bring up these points to say that there's some valid issues on both ends, and perhaps in the time being, we'll see it being played out, because I'm fully aware what's going on with the agenda, or with the New World agenda, and I've been aware of that for 20-something years. But I've learned over time that I have to claim my power back, and my power for me is that I create my own reality. Now, whether I do it on a higher self level, or using more of my subconscious mind, or being engaged in my blueprint that I'm here to create and here to unfold in my dharma, whatever it may be, but that's my power. And the more when I see something going out there, and I can turn it around and look within myself, okay, what am I not comfortable with? What would I do? And it doesn't have to be as like these psychopathic, satanic pedophiles out there, that I don't like that. But inside you, inside us, there may be something that's not comfortable. And once I think we focus within ourselves first, do we then change the reality outside? And that's a valid perspective to potentially have. I mean,
what you're talking about there is some sort of like ascension or something, where we're just going to convert everything into some beautiful rainbow land with lots of fairies and unicorns and shit. And look, people have been talking about this for a long time. I imagine there's a lot of people who have tried to kill off their ego, kill off their humanity over the years, doing it right now, and here they are still on this plane dealing with the same shit. They want to ascend. They probably die bitter and angry and not connected to themselves in the way they should. So, look, does that mean it's not possible? No, not at all. I mean, this could be a process where we are literally ascending into a new particular experience perspective, but maybe it's not. Maybe ascension is really just the finer vibrations of consciousness and energy, and it's a journey. It's going to take quite some time. It's not as simple as bang, it's changed. We're now moving into something in a very slow process. The cycles of time are that massive that we're just a little tick on the clock, so to speak. So I think it's important to consider it all.
And the scary part is we're living in a world now where one decision by one person could decimate millions, if not billions of people, you know? I mean, so it's not like we're back in the old days where, you know, you make a mistake, a few 100,000 people die. And we talk about millions and billions could die by having the wrong person involved in that. So I get that part of it. And that's where the action, I believe, needs to take place. But
Absolutely. And the thing that I really want to focus on just quickly is that
okay.
part of the New Age sort of movement says that we need to sort of kill our ego. And this is the term, ego. No ego, no ego, no ego. And the amount of crap that I've heard out of people who claim to not support the ego, it's just like they don't even realize they got their ego fully engaged. And when I say ego, all I'm talking about is the sense of self, the I-ness, the fullness. Now, when I go to the kitchen or go to sleep or do what I'm doing, I'm experiencing as Phil. Nobody else is experiencing that. We are connected on a very fundamental level, but Phil is experiencing that, and that is a layer of truth. My sense of self, my sense of I is very, very real. Now, of course, we don't need to have excessive pride or excessive competition or excessive greed or generally greed in general. They're all unhealthy aspects of the ego, unhealthy aspects of the sense of self. But our ego is always there. We are our ego. We are literally a snapshot of consciousness. We are not consciousness itself. We are not awareness. We are not God. We are only an aspect of those things. We are connected to that. But I am another layer of truth, another layer of reality. A less fundamental one, yes, but still a layer of reality. So another psyop is people to kill off their personality. Have you seen some of these people who are talking about killing off the ego? They seem personality-less. Like, I want to enjoy my humanity. I want to enjoy the layers of my truth. I want to go and have a good bloody time, eat some really nice organic food, go ride my motorbike, make love, connect with other people, laugh. I want to be a human being. I don't want to be some person sitting in a fucking cave trying to kill off my own sense of self. I already understand that I'm connected to the source. I get that. I don't need to kill myself off for that bloody sense of enlightenment.
Well, you're right. Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is absolutely true, because most people feel like you got to eliminate the ego. In fact, the ego is so important because the ego is basically our five sensory navigator. We could not live in this three-dimensional world without the ego. So the question, in my opinion, is not so much you got to eliminate the ego, but you got to balance the ego with source. It's an ego balancing source piece there. A lot of people get too far into the ego and you're out of balance. So you get too far into source and you're not engaged in the world, in the three-dimensional world that we're here for. And I think, like we're talking about the New Agers and where they are, perhaps they get too far into the source and they're not engaging in the ego aspect of why we're here. Because if we were just to be in source, then we would be in source. But we're here talking, and we're here living this three-dimensional world, this illusionary matrix, or whatever you want to call it, for a reason. And we might not know each reason. We may have an idea what the dharma and our purposes may be, but we're here, and the ego is a necessity. It has to be engaged because it's our sensors. It's sensing this. It's like we couldn't experience this three-dimensional world if it wasn't for the ego. And so I agree wholeheartedly with you. And those people who like judgment, I know that you said judgment in the past. I mean, I agree. I judge all the time, but I say we do value judgments every second of our lives. And these value judgments are critical. It's like the ego. Because when you don't judge, and you could use judgment has such a politically incorrect connotation to, which is a whole nother topic, because that drives me crazy too. But the judgment is critical because you're the part of really where people get lost in, they're judging the judgment, and that's where the ego is needs to be put back into place to help realize that the judgment is your indicators, your measuring stick on where you are within yourself and your own personal growth. You have to have it, just like the ego.
And how you relate to the outside world and what you think might need to change for the benefit of yourself, your family, your future generations, your community, the environment, the planet itself, the universe itself. So that's right. We need an ego to form judgments to help evolve where to do what we came here to do, which is contribute to our own evolution and the evolution of the construct that we find ourselves in. Now, I just want to quickly go back to something you mentioned before earlier as well, regarding, you know, the deep layers of enslavement of, you know, this control paradigm. Yes, we're very much connected. Did we personally create it? Probably not. Did we co-create it? Yeah, we're part of it. We've chosen to be here from an energetic standpoint. That's our blueprint. Then we've been wired in a certain way. That's our subconscious, and then we've become conscious of that wiring in certain ways which we can influence. But what we can also do is understand that we're tuning ourselves to a particular frequency to have a particular experience. Now that's the energetic blueprint. So we've come in at a certain frequency, wave, vibration, like a radio channel. Let's use the analogy of a radio. There's an infinite amount of frequencies that we could tune ourselves into. We've got a particular biological apparatus and energetic structure, the subconscious and the conscious, all contributing to the way that we tune to what channel we tune to on the spectrum of information, of love, of infinite, of God, of whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? And over the evolution that we create within ourselves, the changes, the empowerment, I call it the journey of awakening, because I don't think we ever become awake. I think we become conscious of certain things. We become more aware around certain realities, but we certainly don't get to the top of the fucking hill and we're like, that's it, right? I'm enlightened. I'm done. No more enlightenment for me.
Not here in this three-dimensional world. I agree with you.
That's right. That is a journey. And so through that journey, the more conscious we become, the more aware we can become of what frequency we're tuned into at some of those basic, more fundamental levels, as well as the peak, the conscious aspect as well.
Right.
And retune it. And so I've got a certain way of dealing with my shamanic experience, which is working with the world of ideas and concepts. I don't work with spirits or angels or aliens or anything like that. I just work with ideas. That's just my personal, the way it's manifested for me. It's easy for it's what is easy for me to navigate. That doesn't mean it's the only right way. There's people who communicate with spirit guides or angels or aliens and all the rest of it, like I said, and that's a very real experience for them. Does that mean that's the only way? No. It means that that's their way of tuning into the frequency. So am I connected to the matrix makers or the matrix? Well, yes, I'm living it in a sense. But do I feel enslaved? Well, not really. That's my personal process of emancipating myself and becoming the true, free, sovereign, empowered being that I fucking well should have been. You know?
Amen to that. Yes,
you
sir.
know?
Yes, sir.
So that's what we're... Sorry?
Yeah. No, go ahead. I'm actually, what you described so perfectly. I'm living that life as well. I don't have, I mean, I'm sure on some level I perhaps intuitively tap into different things, but I'm definitely not conscious of it. I'm not conscious of any aliens, spirits, guides, or whatever it may be. I'm a man of ideas and I implement them. At the same time, I can intellectualize these other topics and understand, like you said, people can have that other means of communication, which are just as valid as perhaps mine is. But I seem more grounded in the earthly experiences. Hence, I'm more aware of, like yourself, of the games that are being played by these power structures, you know, and I can almost predict, as I'm sure you can, what the next step's going to be, you know, at any given moment from this problem, reaction, solution that I talked about a lot. But, you know, but I totally agree wholeheartedly with you, is that you don't have to have this connection to be in touch with your psychic abilities, whatever. It may be nice to have to navigate through this three-dimensional world, to having that skill set or ability, but you don't have to. And to make the changes, because we're all here for different reasons. And the fact that you and I have been talking, as for this off and on for a little bit, and I hope you're coming on my show, I think, in the near future. If Jennifer hasn't set that up, I hope you're coming on again, is that you and I are on a very similar frequency. I can already tell that. I knew when we first met, there was a comrade type of kinship there, where you are in reference to what you're experiencing, because you have this blend of spirituality and reality, and you're blending the two and coming up with pragmatic and realistic solutions to be engaged. And I think they may not be unfolding perhaps to the degree that we want them to be folding right now, but I think in time, when we do go through this shift, hopefully suffering is limited to the minimum. But when we do go through this shift or this collapse or whatever you want to call it, or this new beginning, people such as yourselves and people like us will be there to assist people to that higher frequency, because we know it to be true. We've seen it. And that fear, anger is a much higher level of emotional guidance skill than the deep fear, depression, hopelessness, you know. And then you take it to the next level from anger to the, you know, what we're ascending that. And it's an awakening journey. Like you and I are in an awakening journey right now. As we do these videos and interact with people, we're developing every second of 5 years from now. You and I can have different belief systems on what we believe stuff right now we're talking about. And not that it's bad or good, but it's just, I think it's just part of their evolution, part of the evolution revolution meet each other. And as one of the sites I saw talked about. So I think it's just fantastic where you are and where I am right now, and I'm able to communicate on this frequency, because people watching and seeing and hearing this are identifying with that, because a lot of people are not even connected to frequency and soul, and you know, it just they're totally lost in their ego. Their ego is so out of balance that they have no idea. And now fear is going to be creeping in when we go through this collapse, rather than having pragmatic solutions and being there to help transition people to perhaps co-opting whatever this you know, destructive agenda, or these, you know, these guys have been putting it together for whatever period of time. And I can only create on my power, I can only create these intentions for that to happen. And if I create these intentions like the chemtrails, my focus now, I'm creating a group on my site called Blue Skies. I'm creating a group where I'm going to be focused on blue skies and trying to manifest that. And part of focus on blue skies may be having a group where people do contact the local police saying, hey, there's chemtrails up in the sky, you know, whatever it may be. But that's action. But we realize what the contrast is. We don't want that anymore, and we want this now. And so I'm focusing on a positive solution, but yet being aware of what realistically is going on, rather than getting lost into the chemtrails and following that and getting angry and going down and screaming. I'm going to create a group where we're going to be focused on blue skies, on the opposite of that, where there's no suffering. I'm not have to be painful to people or breaking down doors or tarring and feathering, although I do wish sometimes tar and feathering would come back in our society. I don't know why it went away so fast. But you know, I think that's where the focus for me now is, okay, I recognize this reality. What reality is it that I want to experience? And who can I surround myself with to help me get that reality manifested?
Amazingly said. So you've connected to your sense of self in a healthy way. You've formed a judgment of what's going on in the world, and it seems to be a pretty accurate judgment. So it's discernment. It's a wise assessment and conclusion of what's going on in the world. But instead of feeding that, you're creating what you believe is what we should be having, which is blue skies, not chemtrail skies. And that's brilliant. That's exactly what I've been talking about. That's exactly the way that we should be responding to this construct that we find ourselves in. And there's one other thing I just want to quickly leave us on before we go. And I love what you said about evolving our ideas, because I've had to face some really deep-seated philosophies over the last several years and beyond. Well, since I was born, really, but that I had to sort of change and evolve. And they were hard ones, because I thought they were set in stone. And when I talk about the ego with the people and how they should be utilizing it, not killing it, is they engage their ego and they have a bit of a hissy fit over it. And I'm just like, well, you just perfectly contradicted yourself. But anyway, use your judgment, you've used your ego, the whole process, and they still don't realize it. But another thing is, like, you hear these memes all the time, and I do a lot of memes and images on my Facebook. And if I don't entirely agree with it, I'll do a little spiel before it, or maybe clarify it a little bit or expand on it a little bit. So you get some old quotes like Fuller's one where he says, how to create a new system, how to change the system is not by fighting the old one, but creating one on the outside which should make the old system obsolete. And I do agree with that. But I also think it's important to work within the system as well. If we've got all these people in the corporations and the governments and the bureaucracies and all the rest of it starting to talk about it and start moving into a new direction, then we can do both. Life isn't exactly that black and white. Life is a rainbow of fucking colours.
Absolutely.
There are many truths. Another one is enlightenment is a destructive process. I can't remember who it's by. And it's true. Enlightenment is a destructive process, but it's also a constructive process. Like I'm destroying old dysfunctional paradigms of thought and feeling and all the rest of it, but I'm creating other stuff as well. And so what I implore people to do is stop looking at these new age, sort of quotes and memes and ideas and things that are commonly accepted and just accept them. Question them, because I had to. I used to think that I had to kill my ego, and then I realized I sort of like myself. I want to love myself, and I want to experience my humanity, and I want to experience what the fuck it means to be Phil right now in this world.
Absolutely.
So do that for yourselves, guys. There's no one size fits all. There's no prescription for how we should live. We should honor all the truths of our reality, and not just singularize or focus life in one strict way. And that also refers back to what you were talking about earlier, Tim, is that sometimes we can hold competing, contradiction ideas at the same time and embrace them both. Maybe they're both true. Maybe in this wacky, bloody, crazy world, the experience that we're manifested in, maybe all ideas, all truths, all frequencies are real. Now, again, that doesn't mean to say there is no objective truth. I do believe there is something called right and wrong. I do believe there is something called truth and untruth. I do believe that we should be following the golden rule, and that we should do no harm to others and respect each other, respect ourselves for starters, and celebrate and honor everybody's freedom and health and all the rest of it. But that doesn't mean that we can't sort of, on our journey, embrace all of these multiple layers of truth and untruth and use that experience as a way of facilitating healing in a very, very sick world. Because let's face it, the system is sick, and therefore the majority of people are sick as well.
I call it the crisis of perception, and the perception is what's creating people to be sick, because that's just what we address. And tell you, as well stated what you said, by the way, and brilliantly stated, and I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And in fact, that's what we do at the foundation, as I said earlier, is not only we create an environment where people can start creating what they want to experience, but internet virtually, but also like the UI education and the UI business. I'm a problem solver like you. We're problem solvers, and I think in the sense that we see a realistic issue, we want to solve it and have a positive outcome. And so, to me, education, because all education, and I don't care if you're the saint or if you're the devil, but all education is programming. So you want to get programmed by positive people, healthy, positive, loving people, right? And so focusing on the UI education, turning around that our thoughts create a reality, everything we're talking about tonight, to me, is a solution for getting out of that mindset of that worrisome thinking. The UI businesses that we're doing now, getting in, because businesses run this world, even though it has to be a bottom up, because right now our top end have complete control, and they're probably going to have more control when they get TPP class and all this other joke stuff that they're trying to push through legislatively on an international level. But we're ready when that happens, because we're shifting from the bottom up. And when they have people then at that point ignoring them because they're not interested in their agenda, it's going to collapse like a house of cards. But we need to take action and unite at this level to make that happen, because action is critical. And that's what I love about what you do on your blogging and on your videos, is you're all about taking that step. You don't sit back and you wait for something to happen. You get involved, and you do it with that spiritual essence and drive, or having that be your motivator, your inspiration behind you, because it is about love, and love doesn't do harm. Even though there's that dichotomy within myself that I get so angry I could do harm. And I grew up in an atmosphere up in New York City and dysfunctional families where, it was a common experience. But I learned over the years that it didn't serve me. And even though, I still appreciate that level of interaction and, love to watch a good boxing fight or a AMA fighting, whatever it may be. But I still teach to my kids that love vibration is really what we need to try to strive for and to keep it within ourselves. Because if you surround yourself in an environment where you're having a higher frequency experiences rather than the lower frequency experiences, you're more likely to attract higher frequency future experiences. And that's so important, I think, at this point, to be able to raise people up. And you and I and millions of others are doing it as we speak. And I'm, like you said, you're excited about being live today because this is exciting times. Scary, suffering, all this. But God, and I'm sure our souls would never wanted to ever miss out on this. This is the Super Bowl, man. We're in the Super Bowl right now. This is the time to be alive, to be engaged, to be interacting and talking about this stuff and not be scared and living in a basement somewhere. Get out there and interact and point out to and make change, be your authentic self. And some of you are going to be attracted to these type of things that we're doing at the foundation and what you're doing on your shows. Some of you are not. It's all right. Whatever you're doing, do it authentically and be your true self and be connected to source. That's probably the best term to use, but connected to God, Goddess, all the right, Jesus, whatever you're raised in that, but be connected to that. But at the same time, realize you're here to navigate through your ego, to have this experience here, to make change for the better, in my opinion.
No, it's fantastically said. Really well said. And one other note myself too, actually. Throughout the alternative mindsets and alternative media and truth movements and grassroots movements, etc., there is so much division, and that's been purposely designed. Now, some of you might not agree with my rants today or parts of my rants. That's perfectly fine. I don't want to compete with you. I don't want to compete with. Give me a game of a pool table and a pub, and I will kick your ass. But when it comes to competing with your ego or soul, no, I don't want a bar of it. And that's how we should all be operating, especially because we've all got the same goal. We should be unifying all these truth and sovereignty and freedom movements. We should be unifying. We should be putting aside our differences. Some people love the anarchist movement. Some people want anarcho-capitalism or the resource-based economy. You got Ubuntu movements. You got all these different ways of philosophizing and designing how we should move forward. Maybe it'll be a transitional process where a lot of those experiences will happen. Who knows? But just because you believe something doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing for everybody. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing. It very well could be. But just because we believe something and somebody else doesn't mean we should reject them or condemn them or not consider them as part of our team. So it is vitally important for the truth movements, for the people who understand what's going on in the world on that control system level and beyond, that we need to start putting aside these petty bullshit differences, including the New Age movement and religion. I mean, religion's just is hopeless, disgusting, disgusting the way they divisive.
So divisive.
It's unbelievable. And look, I find it hilarious that, for example, Christian people think they've got that. That's it. That's the only religion there is, and that has. I mean, they all think it. Actually, what am I talking about? And same as the New Age movement as well. Same shit again. No.
It's one world religion they're creating right now. That's what they're co-opting it. That's what they're trying to make it into.
That's right.
Georgia Guidestones talk about that. Reducing population down in my home state where I live. I don't know if you heard of them before, but these Guidestones have been put up since the 70s.
Yeah. I've seen them. They've recently had a new one added. I think it was over the last couple of years or whatnot. But yes, look, I think we've gone on a fair bit now. I wanted to try and wrap this up in half an hour, 45 minutes.
We can talk forever, I'll tell you that much.
It never happens that way, does it? Yeah. But yes, look, it is true that there is some, this whole control matrix is in full swing. They may have a depopulation agenda, or they're certainly acting like it with the way that they've designed the system. Um, from my point of view, these elite people, they can justify anything. Their ethics are simply, we're going to save the planet, or we're going to save humanity, or we're going to make it, whatever. And we have to make the decision to, depopulate to save us, or something, whatever it is that they do.
When you're disconnected from source, you could rationalize anything.
That's right. And so at the end of the day, if we do need to go through a depopulation situation, the planet or the universe will sort that out fucking quite naturally itself. All right? We know we live in a bloody planet that's a lot of cataclysms that happen very regularly. So we don't need you guys to make the decision for our collective energy as to what is right and what is wrong with us and where we're at. Okay? So I think we should just celebrate all of our health and happiness and freedom. We should all be honouring each other, regardless if we disagree with each other. I disagree with a lot of bloody people, but that doesn't mean I condemn them. That doesn't mean I judge the fact that I disagree with them, but I don't judge them in a way that condemns them. Right? Well, we don't agree, so therefore I condemn you to hell, which is what some people do.
That's not very politically correct of you. Politically correct, you're supposed to condemn them to hell when they don't agree with you. So
PC, political correctness, that's just another psyop. Let's get people to shut their mouths. Exactly. Be real. Be straight to the point. Be compassionate. Be direct at the same time. This ain't rocket science. Anyway, Tim, an absolute pleasure. If people want to catch up with what you're doing, the unitedintentions.org is unitedintentions.org is the website.
Yep, it sure is. And catch us there anytime. And
excellent. Great chat, and I look forward to coming back onto your radio program soon.
Absolutely. And listen, thank you so much. Keep up the fight. And you guys you're doing a great job. I know you got a lot of supporters and people who are in your area and your frequency who really believe in what you're doing. And I'm one of your big fans. So whatever you need, you let me know as well. Okay.
Thank you very much, Tim. I'm very humbled, mate. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Same here. Take care.
Yeah.
Peace.